Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning the Nedarim, page 57, which discusses a situation where a person makes a vow against not eating fruit. So the law that the Mishnah says, in the event that a person is not so specific, that of course he's not allowed to eat those fruits, but the question is, what is the status of its growth? In other words, if you would, instead of throwing away this fruit, which you're not allowed to eat, it would be planted, and then because of that, it grew into an apple tree. And let's say, again, a person plucked an apple from that, and again put it into the ground, which would be called geduli gedulin, that it's the growth of the growth. So do we say that it is connected to its original fruit, and therefore it's still forbidden? Just like you said, you're not allowed to eat the fruit, you also cannot eat its growths. Or do we say that it's disconnected, and therefore you're allowed to eat that which is the next generation of fruit? And on this, the Talmud again discusses whether or not you were very specific in your language. If you were very, very specific in your language, then we're going to say it's even forbidden the growths that come afterwards. But if you said it in a more generic, general statement, so then we probably are going to assume that what you meant was only to forbid that fruit itself. However, any of its aftergrowths is not going to be an issue. And on this, the Talmud tells us it also does make a difference whether or not this is a fruit in which the roots will ultimately disintegrate. And therefore, there is absolutely no connection whatsoever. However, if this is a type of vegetable in which the bulb, for example, of an onion does not entirely disintegrate, but there is still some remnants of connection, so it doesn't make any difference, we will still say that its growths are forbidden. Now, one could say this doesn't really have anything to do with many present-day applications, but the reality is, we know, first of all, the expression, the apple does not fall far from the tree. We know that there is a very close connection many times, the way that a child behaves and that of the parent, because a parent is the role model of the child. And this is perhaps what this is also coming to teach us here, homiletically, is that even though it's true, a person can say a particular thing about a fruit, the question is, how about its growth? Is the growth, the children, are they connected to the original generation? So on this, it all depends whether or not those roots are still intact. If the roots are still there, then we say that there's still a connection. Even if you see it's a totally different person, you see it's another generation. But if the traditions and the roots that were taught and the customs and all the beliefs and values that the parents instilled to the child, so there's still that connection to the previous generation. If, God forbid, there's a complete severance, there's a disconnect totally between the fruit and its source, and therefore we say they're two totally separate things. And therefore, of course, that would be unfortunately the same situation. But when it comes to a child, that relationship is something which remains forever. We actually say when a child becomes the age of majority, they are called a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah, which is interesting. It's called a son or a daughter. And the reason why is because what's unique about that relationship, unlike even the most intense relationship of that of a husband and wife, there is the possibility when it comes to that relationship, unfortunately, that it does not always last forever. There is the potential, God forbid, that things do not work out. However, when it comes to a connection between a child and a parent, that is something which is never severed. And that's what we teach a child when they become the age of majority. On their bar mitzvah, on their bat mitzvah, we tell them that the traditions of your past, just like these roots that are in the ground, are something that will remain strong for you for all time.